You ever notice that atheists are interested in talking about God? Why? I don't understand this. If there is no God, why spend your time talking about nothing? Atheists don't believe God exists, so they spend so much time. Anytime you ever see atheists focusing in on believers in God, I just wonder why. If God doesn't exist, why do you spend so much time on what you say is nothing? And the reason this is the case, I believe, is because atheism in and of itself is built upon nothing. Its very philosophy is nothing. Its foundation is nothing. It is the philosophy of nothing. And while they have a lot of things to say and they have an opinion about everything, ultimately atheism is about nothing. Even from the very start, religion deals in meaning and origin. So you start with what they give us as the origin of reality. And what is it? Once upon a time, nothing exploded into everything. So the very reason we have everything is because of nothing. Nothing is everything to them. And one of the things that I noticed too is that when the strategies that they use, so if you get into a conversation with them and you try to be offensive about what it is that they believe, well, they get offended by it almost. It's almost as if, and sometimes what they'll say is that they don't have to defend anything. They don't have anything to defend. They don't believe anything. They just state facts. They don't have a belief. Atheism is the belief in nothing, or it is the absence of a belief in a divine, or in divinity, or in a God. And then they'll say things like, well, you're an atheist too. You just have this one God that you believe in, but you don't believe in Thor or Vishnu or whoever. And so, that's sort of their take on that. But my thing is it's the problem I've got with that really is that it's intellectually weak. And they claim to be the intellectuals. They claim to be the intellectuals. Imagine a debate where you didn't take a side. You just got to poke holes in the other person's belief. See, the thing is what this really is it's an argument about reality. What best philosophy, what best theory matches what we see in reality? It's a comparative analysis, but they pretend that it's not. They pretend that they don't have anything to offer, that they have nothing, and therefore they have nothing to defend. It's like watching a football game where only one football team gets the ball, and the other team just plays defense all the time. It's like a boxer that gets in the ring with his fists, but not his face. And I just, for people who claim to be brilliant, the brights, as Dawkins called, and look down upon the religious. It's, to me, so intellectually lazy to just go, I have nothing to defend. I don't believe anything. I'm not religious. Why do you spend so much time focusing on it then? And again, it goes back to this idea of nothingness. And they're defending nothingness. And, I often see Christian apologists, they're so in this mindset of defense, defense, defense. We're going to defend the faith. I mean, that's what, being an apologist is being ready to give a defense. But part of it is that you got to be offensive with the people who are, what are they claiming? What are they coming at you with? Paul said if Christ is not raised, then we are to be the most pitied. That's because Christianity is based on something. It's based on a person. It's based on the idea that this person was God. And that it's not just that. It's that it's based in history. He died. He rose again. You can dispute that if you want, but what you're disputing is a point of fact that people are claiming. This isn't just, ethereal stuff. We're not making things out of thin air. Maybe the Christian faith is connecting dots that ought not be connected, but that's not the point. The point is that what Christians are saying is rooted in something. It's rooted in an event. Atheism's rooted, again, in nothing. And what happens with that is nothing is then sacred. Nothing is sacred. Nothing itself is sacred, and therefore, nothing is sacred. The world, an unlikely but convenient accident. The human, just a complex former monkey, a chemical flesh bag. This commitment to materialism as ultimately a commitment to meaninglessness. And meaninglessness is kind of synonymous with nothingness, right? And there we go with this idea of nothing. Nothing is sacred. Therefore, they exalt meaninglessness. So, as an example, anecdotal, but an example, if you're watching this on YouTube, one of the things you probably are familiar with Jordan Peterson. Notice that atheists have a problem with Jordan Peterson. This is a guy who's not even a Christian. I mean, he says he lives his life as if God exists, right? But, I mean, the guy's not really a Christian, right? But atheists have a serious problem with him. And the reason why is, well, he takes the Bible seriously, even in an intellectual way. But nonetheless, it ought not be taken seriously according to them, and that's an affront to them to do so. And therefore, Jordan Peterson needs to be taken out in their minds. And it's to the point where they're actually calling him, they're questioning his intelligence, Again, not dealing in any way in fact, in reality, in things. They can just make things up. But what I'm doing is tying this into meaninglessness. And an atheist would never say they believe in meaninglessness. Okay? But understand that atheism is very rampant in college campuses. Many professors are atheists. Well, guess what else is rampant in college campuses? Postmodernism. And what is Jordan Peterson always talking about? Postmodernism. Which is what? It's meaninglessness, right? It's this idea that you can just make whatever you want. No, you're just challenging every definition. You're challenging everything that we know to be reality. Why? So you can construct reality for yourself. So it's nothing. It exalts nothing. Postmodernism exalts nothing. I would love to see a poll to see how many postmodernists are atheists. Even if there's an atheist that's watching this and they say they're not a postmodernist, the problem is that I bet if you stood next to a postmodernist, you'd have very similar interests, very similar origins. Let me, because this always goes back to bias, so let me give you just a quote by atheist philosopher Thomas Nagel. I speak from experience, being strongly subject to this sphere myself. I want atheism to be true and am made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. It isn't just that I don't believe in God and naturally hope that I'm right in my belief, it's that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be like that. My guess is that this cosmic authority problem is not a rare condition, and that it is responsible for much of the scientism and reductionism of our time. One of the tendencies it supports is the ludicrous overuse of evolutionary biology to explain everything about human life, including everything about the human mind. This is somewhat a ridiculous situation. It is just as irrational to be influenced by one's beliefs by the hope that God does not exist as by the hope that God does exist. But if you listen to atheists, what you'll see is that they claim to be the rational ones, the unbiased ones. In fact, it's a synonymous thing, the idea that, a Christian has an opinion or a statement of fact or belief or a way of viewing life. You're to question that because they know the religious person's bias. They want it to be true. Why couldn't it be also said that the atheist doesn't want it to be true? And see, here's the thing. Meaning and consistency are intrinsically linked. Of course this is the case. This is why godless secular culture thinks it owns science. It'll call people science deniers. What does that mean? You don't believe? It's like the Inquisition. It's like they are the Pharisees now. You see how that works? This is their form of religion. And you can call it a religion or philosophy. It doesn't matter. They're acting like religious zealots at this point. These are the same people that claim to know science. But who is it that's trying to say there's no such thing as boys and girls? It isn't Christians. Notice it was, and you can't kind of escape politics either. Notice that the left and atheism is in the Democratic Party. And notice that it was the Democrat Party that booed God at their national convention back in 2011. And think about how interesting it is that you can just change, right? You can just change your view if you're an atheist. And that's the thing about it. There's this flexibility involved with it. That's postmodernism. You can just change. If you don't believe in anything, you can change whatever suits you at the time. This is why you can vote for somebody like Obama, who said marriage is between a man and a woman, and then the same people will then call a Christian a bigot for holding that same opinion. You can believe one thing on Tuesday and change your mind and believe something, not only just change your mind, but call the person who believed what you believed on Tuesday a heretic. That's what you can do when you have no foundation, no moral justification, no reality. So atheism being found on nothing gives you this flexibility. If I was to talk about the Bible, they as authoritative, they would say it's just written by men. But then they'll point to Origin of the Species or any other supposed science book that's written by men as authoritative. A Christian says God exists and, God's a spirit, God's invisible. They dismiss that easily. We don't believe in invisible things. And then they'll say things that is crazy like dark matter and dark energy. And I'm fine with the theory. I don't care. But it's like, how do those two worlds exist in the same mind? How do you hold dark matter and dark energy when you can't see them? It's exactly the same as a theory about God. Exactly the same. Well, it's not the same. The difference is dark matter and dark energy aren't judging you. And that's really what it comes down to, isn't it? So they can say, if as a Christian I believe that there's a spiritual world out there. A spiritual world that we can't see, but affects us, right? That's crazy talk to them. But the same people who would say that then say that they believe in multiverse, where there's just an infinite number of parallel universes. It's illogical. It's illogical thinking. It's not consistent thinking. And what if the world is the way Christians are saying it is? What if there is a spiritual world out there? Then the problem is that atheism is lending itself to be victimized. Remember, Christians say that there's this devil, there's demons, there's this world of wickedness, spiritual wickedness, trying to affect everything. Well, atheism is blind to it. They act like it doesn't exist. Walk around blind to the danger and then excuse the damage. And it's worse than that, because reality ends up getting twisted. Deception rules when chaos rules in your mind. When you only exalt chaos and nothingness instead of order and things, then you're apt to believe anything. So now what happens is atheists think Christians are the bad guys. They convolute Christianity and Islam in order to make a statement about religion generally, and then to throw everybody out. Why? To exalt themselves as the free thinkers and the rational ones. But what does that do? It disregards facts. And that equates a Christian the same as a Muslim, let's say radical Christian versus a radical Muslim. The radical Muslim, it equates a guy who wants to debate you with a guy who wants to kill you. How is that sanity? How is that rational? It doesn't make any sense. And here's the biggest thing. Atheism has nothing to offer. It has nothing to offer. Why believe it anyway? This goes back to Pascal's wager. And I've heard it dismissed by atheists. Well, what if God does exist, but he's going to reward atheists because they think skeptically. He rewards skeptics. That's ridiculous. Even if God okay, you're not putting your chips on. You're not even betting on God. That's the point of Pascal's wager. You're ignoring the evidence, and you're saying, I'm not playing. I'm not playing. You can't win if you don't play the game, man. It's about who are you believing? You're believing nothing. What do you believe in? I'll believe in nothing, and then if something exists, I'll get it. No, that's not how it works. You don't win the lottery if you don't play it. And what's the reward that you get for not playing? Think about it. What do they offer? Think about the biblical worldview is this. Man is evil, the world's corrupt. And so, what in the end, there's justice. That's what the Bible says, that God will make all things right in the end. What do you get with atheism? Dirt. All this injustice that you deal with. And what do you get? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing gets made right. So, if atheism is a wager, what's the benefit? What's the reward? Nothing. Atheism is nothing. So there's no origin. The origin of life is nothing. The meaning of life, nothing. The end of life, nothing. No meaning, no purpose, no justice. Just nothing.